is episode 1.
Episode 1.
Rolly's Retro Room podcast.
Thanks for having me on. This is a guerrilla style, but I think it's going to sound pretty good. Thanks to our engineer.
Very quick last minute setup. We got some Goodwill finds here to represent retro.
Did you get these at Goodwill here?
So these two were Goodwill in Kendall.
Okay.
And that is a game that is part of my business.
Okay.
But
all right, cool.
But yeah, here we are. I'm Rolly from Rolly's Retro Room. This is my friend Tony.
How you doing? I'm Tony. I'm glad to be here and talk about some retro stuff and from the 90s, 80s, and above.
So basically, what we'll be talking about is everything retro. We're talking video games, cartoons, TV shows, movies, experiences, lack of experiences now. There are things that we did in the 80s and 90s that people don't even do today.
Correct.
Going out to rent movies.
Yeah.
VHSs, stuff like that.
Leaving your bike out on the front lawn in your friend's house.
Where are all the kids at? They're at the house with all the bikes.
Yeah, exactly. Just follow the bikes and we'll definitely... Oh yeah, I know where they're at. Yeah. Got it.
So just to get into it, I think today we'll do a little soft serve ice cream version of what we're going to be doing.
That, little soft lunch.
So we'll talk about movies, which is a big category for both of us.
Absolutely.
Because we are massive movie guys.
Yeah.
I don't want to say one of us is more than the other, even though one of us is in the industry. But
I don't know, TV news, sure.
Hey, you're behind a camera.
I wanted to be a filmmaker. So yes, movies was my love, and I'm sure like you, our grandmothers took us to the movies. I think it was to babysit us. I couldn't remember, but
I remember just getting dropped off, and it was here's $20. That's all you have, and that's really all you needed.
Yeah.
You could watch a movie, get food, go to the arcade.
And that was it.
Maybe get some food after. And then if you had like a few quarters left, you could call home. But I called collect. Because I wanted to make sure I used every cent I had
1-800
in
collect.
the arcade.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did the Spanish one, like I told you before. The 1-800-226-2727.
And you would say what?
Abuela told my mom to come pick me up.
Click.
Yep.
That's it. Just click.
But yeah, so I have here a list of some movie titles that we talked about. So first, we'll jump into the 80s.
Let's talk about it.
The 80s movies, these movies, to this day, we are having reboots.
Absolutely.
And sequels to movies that came from the 80s.
Not to mention franchises.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Ghostbusters, for us, is like the ultimate. It became a franchise.
Yeah.
Not
easily.
When we were younger.
And it wasn't planned to be a franchise. Like they made this movie and they're just like, this is going to be a one-off comedy movie. Dan Aykroyd wrote it with Harold Ramis. And they're just like, this is a one-off.
Right.
But then it was so successful.
Correct.
That they wanted to make a sequel. And then we got the two newer ones that came out recently. But yeah, it's crazy. All these movies that are coming out that they're either reboots or sequels. Not a lot of them are successful.
No,
not
really.
To be honest with you, I think the movie to me that is a direct sequel from the 80s that is, I dare say, better than the first one is Top Gun.
Yes, I agree with you.
That Top Gun sequel was like, I went to go watch this thing with my son, and we watched the first one. Mind you, we watched the first one a million times.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't pay attention. He's seen it, but he didn't care for it because in the 80s it was more story, less action. You could put action in a movie, but like it was like the story had to be there.
Yeah.
There's a lot more storytelling in older movies than there are now. Now everything's oversaturated with CGI and what big name is in the movie and stuff like that.
Right.
So to me, one of the best. Sorry about that. Riku is a little scared.
Yeah.
One of the best, if not the best sequel, a direct sequel to an 80s movie is Top Gun.
No, for sure. And I think he, at least Tom Cruise and the director, was kind of like, look, we're going to make this as less CGI as possible.
Yeah, he wanted everything practical.
How can we do this? They put 6 cameras inside of
the camera rigs that he fucking came up with for that thing was crazy. Now the funny thing is, and I'm a super like bonus features on DVD guy.
yeah.
Like I have to see every possible like behind the scenes thing. So there's like 4 like different videos of how he made all this stuff. And for the most part, he is a pilot,
Yeah,
and they wouldn't let him fly the airplanes.
of course not.
So-
Only the one that I think Jennifer Connelly
the end.
Jennifer Connelly and her
Right.
were in.
So the crazy thing was when you're watching it, they are in a cockpit, but the actual pilot flying the airplanes are in a cockpit on the bottom.
Really?
So they're in the actual plane. They're
See,
in
this
the
whole
cockpit.
time I thought they were in front.
No. The actors are in the actual cockpits, but
incredible.
the actual guy flying it is under them.
That's incredible.
So, and then he came up with the camera rigs. And funny enough, he came up with the idea for the camera rigs in Mission Impossible,
Oh,
the one with Henry Cavill.
yes.
Because that last scene is basically what led to how he came up with the idea to do all the Top Gun shots.
And not to mention Mission Impossible coming out this week. Oh my gosh.
And supposedly
This-
that has the most insane stunt he's done yet, which is hard to say because every stunt he does in every one of them is ridiculous.
Exactly. Like I think I saw him on Fallon last night, and what he was telling us is like, yeah, I was on this old plane. I wanted to walk like in the 1930s. You know these people that walked on the wings of the plane. I'm like, oh, you wanted just to do it for fun? Just
I'm Tom Cruise.
yeah, just I'm Tom Cruise.
We're
I'm just
gonna
trying to,
sprint about 1.5 miles
Yeah.
at full speed, and then you gotta do some crazy. Every movie you could go back to it. The last 25 movies he's done, there's
sprinting.
a sequence where he's sprinting.
yes.
He's sprinting in Jerry Maguire.
Yes.
He's
Yes, he is. In
like-
the that's right. In Jerry, back to the 90s movie. And Jerry Maguire is running down the hallway of the stadium and just I'm like, he just has to be sprinting in some type of movie. Like I have to go back to like his artsy movies where like Magnolia and see if he's like running in those.
I'm pretty sure he is.
He probably is.
finds a reason to run in those movies. But yeah, 80s movies just they had this look, this
Yeah.
feel. You can't talk 80s movies without talking about the big muscle guys. We got
course.
Arnold.
You talking about
Sly,
Commando, Rambo,
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. Oh yeah,
Bro,
all
like
those.
these were the guys that were in all these movies, and like it didn't matter. Like those movies, script mattered,
A little bit,
but
yeah.
in that aspect, you needed some massive like shootout part,
Absolutely.
or something crazy happening where like they were like just fighting like a gaggle of dudes at like 1 versus 8.
Yeah.
Kind of like this new thing that's going on now, the gorilla versus 100
Oh
men.
yeah, yeah. Let's talk about
that was 80s movies.
that was
The main character is the gorilla.
correct.
He's fighting 100
men.
guys in the damn movie.
No problem. While smoking a cigar.
While smoking a
While
cigar.
smoking a cigar. Baby, you go back to those movies and you look at. It's funny. You look at Rambo 1. It's not nearly as much of a shootout
No.
than it is Rambo 2, 3, all that stuff. Because you look at it, it's like, oh, they're talking about. I went back to it. I'm like, oh, they're talking about PTSD.
Correct.
Before it was something that was. It
Right.
was even talked about. That's
Yeah.
what this is about.
And
I mean,
that's where you got the most acting out of Sylvester Stallone at that time, outside of Rocky.
yeah.
But in Rambo, that was the first time he was, or the only time he was acting.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because after that, it was a few lines, rip your shirt off, here's a gun, here's the freaking bullets, wrap them around
Wrapped
you,
it around
and just go ham.
And I blame Arnold Schwarzenegger for that because I know the competition they
Correct.
had.
He's like, yo, Schwarzenegger's in Commando over here, blowing shit up, smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
We have a character that could do similar things. All right, let's less artsy, more blowing up.
Hey, you could look at from Rambo 2 and 1 where he wasn't jacked up in Rambo
No.
1, but Rambo 2,
And he was
jacked.
he was fully clothed. He had his jacket.
Exactly.
He's like a wanderer. He's
Yeah.
just there walking and stuff like that, trying to get through the city. And then just the guy got beefed at this guy. He
No,
thought he was like
for
a
sure.
homeless dude and start fucking with him.
Exactly.
And he took out a whole fucking police.
Exactly.
Station.
A police town. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to take these people out. No problem.
But yeah, those movies back then, like the 80s it was just a different genre. And the thing is, since most people grew up on those movies, in the 90s, it got elevated. They did go to the next level in the 90s. There was more of, I want to say, they did more investigation. They did more learning. So for instance, The Matrix.
Yeah,
is
you talk about the late 90s. Yeah.
yeah is an action movie or a sci-fi action movie.
Yeah.
And these guys learned kung fu, all types
Oh,
of
yeah.
karate, just to do all those sequences and to work it on the wire work and stuff like
For
that.
sure.
Versus you're not gonna tell Sly, hey, I need you to learn kung fu and we're gonna put you on these wires and stuff like that. He's like, get the stunt double. for
Yeah.
that.
Just get this.
I'm here for the bicep picture. I'm
Yeah.
here for the when I have to rip my shirt off.
The one-liners.
You know, yeah. The like Demolition Man, the king of one-liner movies.
What would it be?
Oh my god, everything is like, is it cold in here? Is it just me? Don't lose your head. Like it's just all these things they say in those movies.
No, they're
Simon
crazy.
Says.
Yes, like the one-liners are great. I think one of my favorite one was probably in Total Recall.
Which one?
Was when he was fighting I forgot who it was, the guy at the end, and they're fighting in the elevator, and then like he gets his arms ripped off, and then he goes, "See you at a party, Victor," and he drops the arms. And it's so good. It's such a great one-liner that it's just like I'll never forget. Of course, you got Commando where he's like, "Cómo estás?" It was just like they didn't need to do anything. Just say those one-liners, and you just like, all right.
And it didn't have to make what was it in Predator when he sees Dylan.
Oh yeah,
Dylan, you son of a bitch. And then the most manliest handshake
for
ever.
sure.
And it's just like
In cinema history, I don't think I've ever seen one
no.
yet.
I think there's like shirts now printed with that handshake.
For sure.
And it's just like the bicep flexing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And our boy, what's his name? He played Creed.
Oh man, I forgot his name.
It's ridiculous. His name is not coming to me
Yeah,
now.
I can say it's on the tip
But
of my
like
tongue.
Carl Weathers.
Weathers.
Call it Carl Weathers.
Yeah, there you go.
Carl Weathers is just there. He's just like, I'm sure seeing Arnold. This is what he was. What, Mr. Universe?
Yeah.
And he's just like, all right,
Twice, three
This is,
times,
this is the guy who I'm gonna do this epic scene with. Went to the back and like pumped
Guaranteed.
every dumbbell that there was on set. Did 50 push-ups. Like he was just like, I'm ready for this scene. And then I was just like, all right. He's like, I'm supposed to lose in this scene, right? He's like, yeah. He goes, all right. Well, I want to put up a fight. And Arnold's just like, yeah, you're not. There's nothing you could do.
They're gonna do. I still love the story about him and Jesse Ventura in that movie.
Oh my god, yes.
Where he's like, oh yeah, I made it seem like, Jesse Ventura had bigger arms than I. And it was the whole thing. Arnold was behind the whole thing. I'm like, come on, of course it was Arnold, of course.
But that's
Like the testosterone in that movie was in, the funny enough, I remember watching that movie. I was like, man, this is like just, you go back to it, you're like, this is full of testosterone. And the only time that the second movie that it's ever done with me, it was actually in the 2000s, was 300. Where
yeah.
you see it like, this is like
It's,
full testosterone mode right there.
it's like every guy there. It's like, I think one of the things they said, like they'll have a baby, and if they deem the baby's not going to be like manly enough or strong enough, we're just going to toss it.
Yeah, we're just going to toss
Yeah,
it
it's
over.
like we just toss
Yeah,
babies
we just
into
toss
a
it.
pile.
This is what we did, This is how we did it back then.
But man, that's those were the 80s movies. Massive testosterone driven
It was.
movies. The action in those movies back then were just ridiculous because there wasn't like the fight sequences. If you watch them, the choreograph that they use for those things were like solid punches.
Yeah.
The most iconic punch of an action movie to this day to me is the Indiana Jones punch.
Oh, yeah.
The Indiana Jones punch is to this day to me. Every time I watch it, it's just like and I would play fight as a kid and I'll like I was making that noise.
Of course. I think everyone, that noise is like instilled in 90s kids. I don't see kids hearing that noise. Like that was that punch. You're like, that's what the sound they made in the movies.
And it's just like it was instilled in us, and that was what a full fist of pure muscle swinging a fist at your face. That's the sound that it would make. And these dudes, again, like you had, I don't know how your father's build, but my father's build was he was 5'7" and he was like this.
Right.
And I'm just like, okay, my dad's like the toughest guy I know. Then you watch Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You're like,
and Sylvester Stallone is like, so my dad's not the toughest guy.
No, definitely not. I think I love my dad, but yeah, when I see those, you're like, oh my God. And of course you go back to like Terminator, where you just see how jacked he is. You're just like,
Dude.
what the hell?
The first scene, the dude's naked.
Yeah.
and he just fucking goes and like he just takes the guy. First of all, the fact that the first guy that he robs for his clothes, that the clothes are gonna fit him, I'm like, first that
I don't know if that's
there's
gonna fit
movie.
him.
There's the first bit of movie magic we get.
I
Not
guess.
the teleporting, not the electricity. The fact that the first guy that Arnold Schwarzenegger, even though I think he was scanning the dude.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think it was gonna. I think it was gonna be a little short or something like that.
Yeah.
But somehow, movie magic fit him perfectly.
his perfect
So,
size 12.
do I think they got it right in part 2?
Yes.
In part 2, I'm like, okay, this I can believe.
Yeah.
This I can believe. Which ultimately, you want to talk about sequels right there.
Best sequel.
To me, I mean, of all time. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even count the other movies. That's how. I mean, for me, it's just part 1, part 2.
After Judgment Day, I tell myself this is just an alternate universe
Yeah.
because there's no way you could have such a good start, an amazing sequel, and then it just falls so
Harsh.
bad, so bad.
Paul, even you couldn't even bring in Lyndall Hamilton back in, and I was like, no, I'm sorry, you can't do it.
And that goes to show you, those were sequels to an 80s and then a 90s movie. And I
Yeah.
believe that third one came out in the 2000s.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah, the third one came out in the 2000s,
And
where
then-
they killed off Sarah Connor,
Right.
and then they brought it back. It's like, okay, I can't.
And
keep
then-
up with this.
Again, we're back to the reboots, or not a reboot, but they try to continue the same story
Yeah.
with the one with Christian Bale.
Yes, they did.
And what I didn't, first of all, I didn't like that. That movie
I
to me
didn't
was,
either.
was trash.
I didn't either.
I didn't like it. But what pissed me off the most about that movie was that they canceled the TV show. I don't know if you ever watched the TV show, the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
I did not know.
Watched that. That thing was great.
Really?
And they canceled that show because they didn't want it to influence or interfere with the movie. So you can't have the same license, one on TV and one in the movies. So
Okay.
they said, okay, well, we're gonna end the season of Sarah Connor on a freaking cliffhanger, no resolution, and the movies, we're gonna continue everything with the movies, and we lost because that show was doing really good. Funny enough, I own it on DVD.
Okay.
But I think it's streaming. You might be able to find somewhere to stream it.
All right, I'll
but
check it out.
definitely, it's definitely worth the
It's
watch.
worth it.
Because essentially, Sarah Connor survives,
Yeah.
and they pretty much get her, and there's a whole storyline, and I don't want to ruin it for you, but
No, that's okay.
de-
I'll check
definitely,
it out.
definitely look into it. But again, something that stemmed from the 80s.
Correct.
So another 80s movie that to this day I watch every year, Die Hard,
Christmas time.
Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie.
Everyone, for the most part, will agree it's a Christmas movie. I know Bruce Willis has gone on
Record.
what was it? It was
I believe it was
his roast.
Yeah.
His roast is where he's like, it's not a Christmas movie, and it's just like, I don't think you are the authority to say this
Yeah.
if it is a Christmas movie or not. Every year at like 10:45 or I think maybe 10:30, I start it.
Yeah.
I put it on. My son will be there with me, and on the 24th we put Die Hard, and we go. That's the last thing we watch before we go to sleep. And every year, and like I post it every year. To me, that is a Christmas movie. It takes place during Christmas. Yippee ki motherfucker! Like
Yeah.
that is
That's it.
that's it. That's
Hans Gruber
Yeah.
falling off the building.
mhm.
So I mean, it's there, and that's you got the big three. You got Arnold, Stallone, Willis,
Yeah,
and Willis are like Willis
right. Which
as an action star.
which was not welcomed. They had to. I think they said that some of the promo stuff, they had to make the posters and take his face off of it and just put the building.
Yeah, then it looked just like an Tower Inferno or
Yeah,
something. Yeah,
a
it's something.
building on fire and just said Die Hard.
Yeah.
And it said Bruce Willis, but like I believe the font of it was like so low.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they're like, yeah, no, we gotta take his face off because they're not gonna believe that this guy from
Moonlight.
Moonlight, a comedy show,
Yeah.
is gonna be the action hero.
Yeah,
And they're asking, why didn't you get one of the top guys? You
Yeah.
know, Sly Stallone or Arnold. The other action movie, which funny enough, that came out in the 80s, that had a comedy person.
Yeah.
Is one of your favorites.
One of my favorites, Michael Keaton, Batman '89.
And we know how that went.
Oh boy, and it's funny. It's funny enough because I think one of my ideas is I always wanted to be a screenwriter, but one of my ideas was because I read a story. Because nowadays you wanna watch a trailer, boom, the trailer's out, it's on YouTube, bam, boom, boom, boom.
Correct.
'89, that didn't happen.
No.
So when it came out that Mr. Mom
Was Batman.
Yep. It almost had the same frenzy of anger as Heath Ledger when he became Joker.
Right.
Oh, almost. And I remember, I'll never forget it. I was one of those people. I admit, I'm like, Heath Ledger.
The 10 things I hate about you, guy.
The 10 things I hate about you. Brokeback Mountain, great in that. Now I look back on it, I'm like, actually, he did a really phenomenal job on that. But then I'm like, wait a minute. Why? I don't get it. And then you see that first picture. That is a direct correlation to '89 Batman. Because they were like, all right, we're going to shut the critics up. When he was in front of the Batmobile, people were like, okay, all right, we'll take it.
Well, it was a complete tonal shift.
Yeah.
Because previous to that, you had Adam West.
Yeah. And it was this campy.
The camp of the camp.
Yeah. Dancing, disco, or 60s vibe. Like, it was just campy, fighting a shark. Now you see something like, all right, Tim Burton, the guy who did Beetlejuice, the guy who did Pee-wee's Herman, Playhouse, is doing Batman. And then all of a sudden, this is where I had thought my script idea was, people wanted to see the trailer. It was playing on I don't know what movie it was playing, but it was playing on some movie that no one wanted to see. People actually went, bought a ticket, went into the theater just to watch the trailer and get out. And that's it.
Now, wasn't the trailer, and I could be wrong on this, wasn't the trailer, it was just saying names and going around the Bat logo?
That was
and then it just reveals the Bat logo with a pull away?
That was actually, no. That's actually the very opener of the movie. That's the opener. Like, that's how it starts. It doesn't start off in an action sequence. It starts off with that Danny Elfman soundtrack, and you're like, you're looking through this, and I'm seeing this as a kid. I'm thinking it's the Batcave. I'm thinking like we're going through some Batcave here. This is, I don't know what we're doing. We're following a car. And then when you see it pull out and you see that logo, the goosebumps I felt, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I got to give credit. Batman '89 is still in my heart. You know, Michael Keaton, he Mr. Mom, nailed it.
And that's another thing, and we'll touch on that in another episode, is the incredible scores of movies from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing we can kind of say that we have in this age would be the Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, I would say so.
I say
Hans Zimmer
would be the one that's making the scores these days that kind of stay with you. Granted, they're very ominous for the most part, because you think about Inception, obviously The Dark Knight,
yeah,
stuff like that,
and The Man of Steel,
right? So and yeah, Warner Brothers properties, something like that. But then you go back to the first takes on these, and you have John Williams doing Superman,
of course.
And then, like you said, we had Danny Elfman doing
Batman. And not to mention, Hans Zimmer was in the 90s. He had done some stuff in the 90s. I can't remember. I couldn't remember he had done Lion King or not. I think he had done Lion King.
I don't know. I'll have to
he did the sound. He did the soundtrack. He did the composer, not the soundtrack. Like, I think the soundtrack was, part of, like, that again, that was something in the 90s that they did. And again, I go back to Batman '89. Because there was a confusion. It was like, okay, we have Danny Elfman doing the score, and then we have Prince doing the soundtrack.
Right.
So you had two different albums.
Correct.
So you had the Prince soundtrack with the same logo,
right?
And then you have the Danny Elfman album with the that iconic Batwing on the moon, and you're just like, wait, which one do we buy? They both did great. They both did amazing.
There's no way you're not going to do the Prince album in the 80s. You're not. Like, you're going to do the Prince album.
Correct.
And then I don't know like how you feel the first time. I'm just hearing that music at any given point in time throughout my day. I'm just like, okay, if it comes out on like on my playlist in my car, there's no singing to it whatsoever. Yeah, let it play.
No, let it play.
Because it's so iconic.
It is.
And again, that has to be its own episode. But like you have all the John Williams ones.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I think he just has the basically the tone of every song from every iconic movie from the 80s and the 90s.
For sure.
From Superman, Star Wars, Jurassic Park,
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones, like what doesn't he have?
Of course.
What hasn't he touched? And like this dude, like, yo, he has touched every movie that
From
has
the 70s.
that is iconic in like our era of growing up.
Absolutely.
So
For
it's
sure.
just,
And it'll pimp once you hear it, it'll transcend you back to where you were.
correct. The moment you saw it, the
Yeah.
first time you saw it. Jurassic. Every time I hear the Jurassic Park song, the first thing I think about is the commercial.
Yeah.
That I saw, and I was just like, and I want to say like as just like every kid in the 90s, I think we were all fans of just dinosaurs because dinosaurs were just fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And there were things that we had on TV or in movies, and the dinosaurs were kind of cheesy looking. We had the show Dinosaurs,
Right.
where it was like the animatronic kind of thing,
Yeah.
how the Ninja Turtles looked
I
and stuff
remember.
like that. Then you had like claymation versions of dinosaurs.
Not
and
to
stuff
mention
like
the
that in
Land
movies.
Before Time
Land Before Time
gave us a little trauma there.
But then this was the first time it almost looked real. Like,
Especially
it looked real.
and especially when they used that mix of practical and CGI. It was it wasn't one of the first, because you can go back to Tron, and I don't even think Tron was one of the first CGIs, but it was one of the first good CGIs. You're just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm staring at a dinosaur.
And again, I've seen hours and hours and hours of behind the scenes and all the artists that worked on these movies, and the fact that they were gonna go animatronic for almost all of it, and they couldn't figure out how to get it to like be more fluid.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember the gentleman's name, but they got the guy who did some stuff, I believe, on Star Wars.
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, I could take what you have of the animatronic and I'll just make you like a little demo here.
Yeah.
And he just blew him away.
Oh, he blew him away. I think I know what you're talking about. It was I think it was a Netflix show where I think it was called The Movies That
Yes,
Made Us.
that's yes.
And it was and
He made it there in his office.
correct.
And he told, hey, come on down. Like, let me show you what I did, and you tell me if you want to go with it. And that's
Yeah.
it.
And literally, I think Steven Spielberg turned to the practical effects guy and was like, "This guy's gonna take your job."
Yeah.
Because he saw it, he's like, "Oh my God, this is it! Like this is it. The more we perfect it, the better it is." But if you go back to the '80s movies, I think for me, I think we've talked about this. '84 is for me, like that's our year. We were born.
84 is just the year
year.
of the 80s.
Yeah, like that's peak year of the '80s.
Yeah.
When you think of '80, at least for me, and I'm probably biased, and I think you're biased too, because we're '84 babies.
We were born in 84.
But just go back to the movies. Just go back to the movies that came out those years. Like it's incredible. I mean, Ghostbusters itself, right there. Ghostbusters. What else? Top Gun, I think, came out in '84. Let's. I mean, I'm trying to see what else came out because you look it up.
Just things that came into creation of that year. Transformers came out that year.
That's right.
The Ninja Turtles comic book.
That's right. The comic book came
out that
first.
year.
Yeah, that's right. Like it is the for me the pinnacle, like the pinnacle of like the '80s, right there. '84 movies, list of Hollywood. Like you're talking about like classics, bro. Like let's see. I mean, I'm looking here. What else? Talking about like, what horror? Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street came out in '84.
And that one of the craziest horror movies made on a shoestring budget.
Mm-hmm.
Like this thing was cheap
I'm sure.
to make, and to this day, probably one of the most original horror movie ideas. A guy, or he was a pedophile.
Yeah, he was a pedophile.
Got burned, and he came at you in your dreams.
And it was like the one time you think, okay, I'm safe in my sleep and underneath my bed. Then this movie comes out. I was like, nope.
Nope.
Think again.
When you go to sleep is when you're the least safe.
Exactly.
So, and yeah, a lot of people were not going to sleep during that time.
Definitely not.
Coffee sales must have gone up
Exactly.
in '84.
Yeah.
Because of Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
They should just put him on there. A sticker of Freddy Krueger on the coffee
Yeah.
in '84.
And that's it. Just there you go. Stay awake. Just put it in there.
But that goes to show you, like the movies that came out, the horror genre alone in the '80s
oh, for sure.
was ridiculous.
You got to start with Friday the 13th. I think it was 82.
Yeah.
82, and you just
And the crazy thing is, everyone forgets that Jason isn't the monster.
and it's funny.
In the
I
first
learned
one.
that in Scream.
Yes, they do mention that. Yes,
I learned that in Scream. Because you figure when you think of Friday the 13th, everybody's gonna go back to it's Jason. Just like she made that mistake because that's the iconic mask. That was it. That didn't come out until part 2. So when you get tricked like that, you're like, oh, it was Jason Voorhees' mother was the original killer. Like it wasn't Jason.
No.
Jason was supposed to be quote unquote dead.
Right.
And so you're just like, oh, okay. So and talk about another shoestring budget.
Yeah. Like, these things were not made with the box office budgets that they're given now.
And I think that's what I loved about those movies. Forget the script. Like you talk about the script, like okay, it's written, it's okay. But you look at the creativity behind those movies, and you're talking about again. We go back to Sam Raimi with not Living Dead. What's that movie?
Ash.
Oh my god!
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You look, but that
Army of Darkness.
Army of Dark. That was part 3, and it was part 1 was Night of the Living Dead. No,
Yeah.
Was it Night of the Living Dead? No, that was the very original zombie movie.
That was a zombie movie.
That was a zombie movie
that they just redid.
Yeah,
That one wasn't that bad.
Yeah, that one wasn't that bad. Yeah, but you talk about shoestring budget, and you look, and there's a scene I think, and I'll go back to Friday the 13th where Kevin Bacon's smoking a joint, and he gets stabbed with the arrow.
Correct.
Right through. Well, apparently the guy underneath it wasn't supposed, it was the arrow supposed to go, and so with the blood, and the blood, if you notice it, the blood doesn't go through. So he takes the tube and goes, and it just shoots out, and then the director's like, "God, I loved it, print it," because it just worked out. But like again, you talk about shoestring budget, that it's now iconic. It's now iconic because of a mess up. So,
and it's funny because you mentioned Kevin Bacon in that movie and Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street.
yeah,
And that was on a waterbed.
yeah.
And my parents had a waterbed.
Yep.
And I didn't want to go on that waterbed after seeing that. And mind you, when I saw that movie, it was like on VHS, or was it on TV? I think I had teenage I had teenage uncles, and they would watch horror movies like with me there. Like I think they wanted to scare me. Funny enough, I wouldn't get like I would be like, it would be like cringe to watch, but like I wasn't like scared. And we had this conversation where like the first movie that gave me a freaking nightmare wasn't even a horror movie. It was Terminator 2. It was freaking T-1000.
Of course.
But that fucking scene with Johnny Depp on the waterbed, that stuck with me because I would literally go into my parents' room, jump on the waterbed with my brother, and we'd be there. And then it was just a sound.
Yeah.
The slushing around of the waterbed. That I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and
it's that iconic scene where he just gets sucked in, and then this blood
just
shoots up, which I think they shot upside down.
Correct.
Which is great for practical effect. You're just like, oh my! Like I didn't see anything like that. I think the closest thing was The Shining, where the blood came out. The elevators came out of. Like you look at that, you're like, what the hell did he do to him? Like. I'll never forget. And of course, you're talking about horror movies in the 80s. I mean, when I saw Child's Play, I was like, my dad was like, oh, don't tell your mother. Don't, they showed me Child's Play 2 first because I think that came out in the late 80s. And I'm like, oh my God, this is horrendous. I hated this thing. It was horrible. I go back on it now. I'm like, this is the funniest thing I have ever seen in my life. Like,
so the funny thing with me and Child's Play, I wasn't a fan of it growing up, was like and I appreciate it now because of what it is. And when I watched it as a kid, when you're a kid, you have one perspective. You see things a certain way, and like so, I always thought it was funny. I'm like, what's so scary about a little doll chasing you? You could literally just punt this little guy. Like, what? I couldn't understand it. So as a kid, I was like, he just makes jokes.
Right.
To me, Chucky was just making jokes. I wasn't scared of it at all. Then I would go to school and we would talk, and like, you know, in school you had the thing, oh, what's your favorite scary movie? Like kind of, you know, like in Scream, like, oh, what's your favorite scary movie? And like, oh, like I would be like, you know, Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger was the one that I think like it was the most creative to me.
Right.
Because the fact is you have to go to sleep.
Yeah.
You have
Everybody
to go to
does.
sleep. So and somebody was like, oh, well, my favorite is, I think it was a girl. She goes, my favorite is Chucky because I have dolls and that scares me, thinking that one of my dolls will come to life. And I was like, that's weak.
Yeah.
Because you could just pull the batteries out or throw it away.
Right.
And she's like, no, but like, you don't know when it's going to happen. And you don't know that it's trying to kill you. I mean, at some point you'll know, and that's it.
Right.
So it was so weak. It took me when I was a teenager and the girl I was dating in high school wanted to do a Chucky marathon because it was like on Sci-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
They did like all the Chuckies because Bride of Chucky was coming out.
Okay.
I think that's the first one that has Jennifer Tilly in it.
No, was it? Is it Bride of Chucky? No, it was, what was
Whichever one came out in 98.
Yeah.
And I think Jennifer, my interest was Jennifer Tilly.
Every guy's interest in the 90s was Jennifer Tilly.
I didn't care for Chucky. I cared for Jennifer Tilly.
Everybody, let's just be honest.
So, yeah.
We had to go see it for Jennifer Tilly.
So I was like, okay, yeah, we'll watch these movies. And then as I'm watching them, I got it. As a teenager, I got why those movies were good.
Right.
Or why I can enjoy them. As a 8-year-old, I was like,
you never got it.
It's stupid.
Right.
It's just he's being funny.
Yeah.
It was comedy to me. While yes, it was comedy. It was funny. As a teenager, I could understand the lore, if you will.
Right.
It's like a possession of a doll. There's a curse.
And you can understand the batteries. Well, apparently you don't need batteries.
Correct.
Especially that one scene where she's changing. She flips him over and she goes to check his battery, and all of a sudden there are no batteries, and his head turns. It's like, "Hi, I'm Chucky. You want to play?" Right. I was like,
now, here's the part that gets me with that. While that is creepy,
yeah,
right. During that time, when I was watching all these Chucky movies, and we're gonna watch, I believe it was Bride of Chucky, or the one before that. I had just gotten that girlfriend a Furby.
Oh my god!
And those things move and make noise all the fucking time. So you could literally just be there in the room. At that time, I think we were just like hanging out, and we had like the box on TV.
Oh, yeah.
It was just playing music. I think we were doing homework or whatever. And all of a sudden you just hear zzz, zzz, zzz. And I'm like, the fuck? And she's like, oh, that's just a Furby. It just moves like that, like randomly. It's like, yeah. I'm like, and that doesn't freak you out? She's like, no, it's a toy. I go, all right, this is coming from the person that just made me watch all the damn fucking Chucky movies. And you're just fucking cool that this toy is just there, just scoping out everything. And it's nothing to you. Like, oh, it's just a movie. I'm like, yeah, it is just a movie. I got up, took the fucking batteries out.
Yeah.
And I'm just
I would have done the same thing.
And I'm just like, all right, I'm safe now. And then in my head, as I sit down, I was like, if that shit moves after I took out the batteries, I'm punting this motherfucker out of here.
Just out of the window.
This shit is gone. We are campfiring this motherfucker right here.
They had those creepy eyes,
bro. Everything. I was just like, dude. So again, 80s movies. It's just the level of creativity.
That's
One,
what I think what I loved about
with the stories, and two, again, I think the main topic of all that was just how creative they were for just the horror part.
Yeah,
because you literally didn't have a crazy budget. This was the first time people were doing these things. Yeah. So you had to come up with these crazy rigs, turning the room upside down to show all that blood coming out. Like it was just a different time. And granted, there's a ton of other movies you could talk about.
Absolutely.
From the 80s, and it's just they're so iconic. We haven't talked about all of them.
No.
But we'll jump into the 90s now.
Yeah.
So the 90s took everything that it learned from the 80s
Yeah.
and said, all right, let's build on that.
Yeah.
So action sequences got bigger,
And more budget. Yeah. Absolutely.
more money towards those kind of movies. And I feel they allowed more wilder stories
Yeah.
to happen.
Right.
So, for instance, I believe sci-fi really hit hard in the
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you can pinpoint it back to, I want to say Judgment Day. I mean, like Judgment Day right there as action that was, it was almost also a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, going back to the 80s, you don't have Judgment Day and the T-1000 without the Abyss.
Absolutely not.
If you look at the Abyss,
Yep.
it is a direct line, especially that water movement of the CGI is a direct line to the
I
T-1000.
think, if I'm not mistaken, I saw one of the many documentaries I saw was that's where they got the inspiration.
Yeah.
James Cameron said that he got it from
the water,
Abyss.
from that water
Correct.
scene where it was like, and I remember going back because I saw Judgment Day first before I saw the Abyss. I went back to the Abyss and I'm like, oh, that looks just like the T-1000.
Yep.
That liquid metal thing. This is where they got it from.
Yep.
So it's like a direct link to it. So I'm like, so you go back and like, okay, this is sci-fi.
Yeah.
This is sci-fi action. And then it just develops from there, man.
Yeah. I mean,
You got like underrated movies like Johnny Mnemonic and all those.
no one hardly ever talks about Johnny Mnemonic. Going from Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and then Sly had his sci-fi movies. You had Demolition Man, Judge Dredd.
That's right. He was Judge Dredd. He was the first Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
Which was also a comic book adaptation. That's right. I forgot about that.
And sci-fi was just on the up and up. Sci-fi action, because you had your Star Treks,
Yeah.
you had your Star Wars, which that was more 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
But then where I think sci-fi started to just really bug out and just like say, all right, this genre is gonna be a solid genre. You had stuff like Fifth Element.
That's right. The Fifth Element blew everybody on their heads. I didn't know what the hell I was watching. When I first watched it, I'm like, what am I watching
No
right
one
now?
did.
I'm
You
like,
just knew Bruce Willis was in a movie. I think they showed Chris Tucker because Chris Tucker at that time was popping.
Yeah.
Because he was in like 2 or 3 movies, obviously Friday.
Yeah.
And I think he had just had a movie come out called Money Talks
yeah, with Charlie Sheen.
with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
So he was super popular. So you have a movie, it's in the future. You have Bruce Willis, you have Chris Tucker, and then you have a model
Yeah.
that no one knows.
No.
And just based on the trailer, it looked wild.
It did. And,
It looked
and
wild.
I think what I liked about it, because I think that's what I still like about it to this day, because that's one of those movies, if it's on, I'm putting down the remote.
No, yeah.
It's like, done.
Yeah.
And I'm just watching it.
It doesn't matter what part it's at.
Yeah. Doesn't
It's
matter.
like, oh, Fifth Element's on. All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm watching it because you go back to it and you're like, okay, this is so far into the future that it can almost be believable. It's like, I think it's on like 2154.
Something like that.
So far. I think it's one of the furthest in the future I've ever seen in a movie. But you look at it and you're just like this is like art right now. Like, I don't know what I'm watching.
So crazy.
It
Looked amazing.
It did.
And one of the selling points to me, and it's the craziest thing ever, is the president is Debo. Debo is the president.
From Friday. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And he was good. He was good.
Yeah, bro.
Like, he was really.
That was the first coming of Barack Obama right there.
Yeah, that right there. That was it. Like, I think Barack Obama saw this like, I can do that.
Yep.
You know, like, it's not gonna take that
If
long.
Debo could be president,
I could do that.
why can't I?
And it was, and you just see it, and you're just like, what? I mean, just okay. They're going light speed. You're going. They're vacations on another planet in another universe. Like, what the hell?
Which kind of reminded me of Total Recall.
Yeah,
Because they would go to
Mars.
take vacation to Mars, or you could implant the memory of going and doing that vacation.
exactly.
Or
And as a
whatever.
matter of fact, that could be Total Recall. Could be also a sci-fi action.
Yeah.
It probably could. And I think it was the first time
I'm
I saw Sharon Stone. You're like, oh, who's this? You know,
Mhm.
like, This is before Basic Instinct. Like this
Yeah.
is you're like, oh, this is nice. I like, but you realize like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like the way they did it, and it still had its one-liners.
Yeah.
It
of
still
course.
had its action. It still had its muscle. It still had its, never forget the three-boobed woman. Like I'm like, I saw that as a kid and my jaw dropped. I'm
Yeah.
just like, and it's
I
like,
was like, I
but-
thought I liked 2.
yeah,
I want 3 now.
yeah. 3 now is like, 3 looks good too. But you could like link it back up to that, and it's just like, okay, yeah, back to like Fifth Element, and and again, originality.
Yeah.
And then I look back, it's like you look back because back then you didn't know Luc Besson. Oh, that's right, he did The Professional, another '90s classic,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so good. It was, I mean,
Yeah.
from start to finish, that movie for me is like, and then from
Sci-fi-
there, where do
sci-fi
you go?
Definitely took off in the 90s. And then another, I feel, I guess it's a genre, another genre of movies that was, at least every year you had 1 or 2 kind of these movies.
Yeah.
Sports movies.
Oh yeah,
You had
the '90s sports movies.
coming out like crazy,
God.
and they were great. And then a lot of them were driven to kids. Hello, your kids are inside and they don't want to go outside. They just have that new Nintendo or that Super Nintendo. Let's give them an inspiration to go outside.
Boom, Sandlot.
Sandlot, Rookie of the Year, and then one of the big ones for me, and our engineer here, my brother, would tell you, when we saw the Mighty Ducks.
Oh my
Granted, we lived in Miami.
God. Yeah.
There was no ice.
No such thing.
So we saw the Mighty Ducks, and the first thing we wanted to do was play hockey.
I think every kid in Miami wanted
There
to play
was
hockey.
nowhere in Miami in 1993 or 92, whenever this came out, to play hockey.
None.
So we begged our mom to get us rollerblades. She took us to Toys R Us, got us those black rollerblades with the green wheels.
With the terrible wheels. I don't think you could. You could only use those at the roller
at
rink.
the roller rink. Why?
Where that were good.
Because if you're trying to skate on the freaking sidewalk, all you hear was clack, clack, clack,
That's it.
clack.
That's it.
They wouldn't roll. So, but no, my I think my uncle was like, I can fix these for you. I'm like, oh, awesome. And he just greased the shit
Out of the bearings.
out of the freaking bearings on those things. So, but now
But then you hear.
we were going so fast that it was so slippery that we couldn't stop. And I think we broke the brake off of one. Like, remember how you had the
Yeah,
brake
the
on
back,
the back?
yeah.
And you had to lift your foot up. So, but yeah, no, sports movies, especially kids sports movies in the 90s were top tier.
For sure.
The Mighty Ducks movies, to me, the first one was awesome. Second one, I think I like the second one better.
Everybody loves it because they go to the Olympics.
Right. And then the third one wasn't the same quality. And I'll be perfectly honest, I was biased. Gordon Bombay wasn't. Emilio Estevez wasn't
Yeah.
in it as much. And then they get the new coach. I was like, really?
Yeah.
And then Charlie, who's like the main one.
Yeah.
Charlie's like, he's like not with it.
He's
So
kind
he
of an
leaves.
asshole.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this one doesn't have the same vibes.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, they come together and Gordon Bombay comes at the end and, kind of gives like a speech and stuff like that. But the third one, is
It's
probably
still
the least-
part. It's still part of the stratosphere for me. Like it's
Right.
okay. It's there. It's still part of it. I get it.
It's not what's this movie? I forgot what it was, but like yeah, the third one tends to always be like the weakest of each franchise.
I think so.
And to drop back into like an 80s movie, Back to the Futures.
Yeah.
1, great. 2, to me, 2 is the
To
best
me,
one.
the best one for
And
sure.
it's because they go to the
future.
future, the look of the future. How many of us believe there are going to be flying cars
And hoverboards.
because of Back to the Future and hoverboards? And
Yeah.
there is a version of hoverboards, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. But if you go back to that movie, there are things in that movie that are here with us now.
Absolutely.
They're like, and it go even down to the. I think there's a part where Doc goes, oh, "Skyway's jammed. It's gonna take us forever to get there." I'm like, "Hey, I know that sign. There's one right off Kendall. It tells you, oh yeah, it's gonna be jammed up when there's 2 lanes blocked or whatever." I'm like, my God, that could be linked. FaceTime, for God's sakes.
FaceTime. He FaceTime with Needles.
Yeah.
And got fired. And while I could see how fax was supposed, you could think that would be the future. Essentially, they sent a text message.
Correct.
It was a text message.
Yeah. It was a text message. Just
to
did
his
it. Did
house.
the paper. No, it'd be most likely these days it'd be you're fired on your phone. You know. But yes, going back to the sports movies for sure. And I think one pivotal one. If you want to go hockey, I have to put on there Airborne.
Yeah.
I have to. Like I saw Mighty Ducks, and then when I saw Airborne, that's when I really got like, because I was one of these aggressive skaters, and that's where I was like, oh my god, this is where I want to go. Because they were playing hockey and they were doing like aggressive skating, and I'm like, oh my god, you could do this on ramps and all this other stuff. And that's where I got into. I'm like, oh, I get it. These crappy ones from Toys R Us don't work. I need to get the rollerblade.
Yeah.
Rollerblade. And then once I got those, sky's the limit. I was like, this is
Airborne.
I was Airborne. I'm like, let's go. That's it. So yeah, I gotta give shout out to my Airborne, you know, and a lot of up and comers. Jack Black was there. Seth Green was there. That's when he had the orange, like long orange hair. So I gotta give it to that. But yeah, again, sports movies for us, especially kid sport movies. And I mean, come on, The Sandlot.
Sandlot. One of the most, I think that is quoted today more than any sports movie that's come out recently, or if there are any sports movies. And then people are quoting it that have never seen it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I hear You're Killing Me Smalls from people that were born like in the 2000s, and I'll look at them and I go, do you know where that's from? Oh, it's just a saying. No.
Like, no.
It's from a movie.
It's from a movie that we
You
grew up
have
with.
not earned the right to say that damn
Correct.
saying.
Like it's if you don't know where it's from, if you can't pinpoint it to what it's from, I'm telling you, I'm sorry, you don't have the right to say it. You don't have the right to wear the shirt. I have the shirt, and it says You're Killing Me Smalls.
Right.
And I remember seeing a picture where I think it was Ham and Smalls found a guy, had that shirt, and he's like, "Oh, can we take a picture of your shirt?" I'm like,
They know who he was.
They didn't know
They didn't know who they were.
I'm like, are you out of your mind right now? Like, there's no way you do not know. If you were a '90s kid, you knew exactly who they were.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. And then you go back to Angels in the Outfield. You go back Rookie of the Year, Little Big League.
And you know what's crazy? I'm not a baseball guy.
Yeah.
I find the sport a bit. I find watching it boring.
Playing
I could play it.
Okay.
I've played it.
Yeah.
I played it with my friends growing up and stuff like that, and I was pretty good. But I don't like watching the sport. But now you give me a baseball movie, I'll watch it.
For sure.
And Rookie of the League,
Rookie of the Year.
I'm sorry, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite baseball movie because of the fact that it's again, you think that it could happen to you,
Absolutely.
and you're just like, the kid broke his arm.
Yeah.
Has in this cast.
This tendon that's like a rubber band.
Has to me, this to me was one of the more iconic parts of that movie was when the doctor's telling him to move it. You hear the rubber band stretch
The
noise.
sound effects guys on that movie were great.
And then wapa, it goes, and he's like, "Oh, funky butt loving."
Did he just say
funky butt loving?
It was great.
And I've said that a million times in my life. And for the most part, when I would say it, I said when the movie came out and growing up, the people who I was saying around it got the joke.
Yeah.
Now you say funky butt loving, and no one knows
one's gonna get
unless
it.
they're of the culture.
And it's crazy that movie. I think one of my favorite characters of that movie was Daniel Stern.
Oh yeah,
he directed that movie.
Yep.
I was like, he is one of those scenes that he's in are like classic.
Yep.
When he's like stuck in the cage, he's
gotta-
like, "Come on, let's go,
let's play some ball.
Let's play
Let's play some ball." He goes, "I've got it. You heat up the ice cubes."
Hot ice, the best of both worlds. Like they're like, again, you're not gonna quote any like all those lines are great. It's like, I got my breakfast, put it in my vomit bag, voila, breakfast. Conservation, Henry. That is the key to baseball. He does all this like crazy. Again, he stole the show along with John Candy. Oh, the classic John Candy was in it too. I forgot about that. That was one of his. And then you think about John Candy, you got to think about Cool Runnings. Again, based on
Earl
a true
Blitzer.
story. Yep, based on a true story.
Yeah.
Disney-fied, and it's.
I showed this movie to my girlfriend the other day, and she wasn't into it. and it was late at night. And she's just like, "What did you put on?" I go, "I put Cool Runnings." And she looks up and she's just like, "It's another '90s movie. I'll watch it later." And she just goes to sleep. And I'm just there and I'm just watching. And I know this movie by memory because we had the VHS.
Yeah.
And I watched this movie almost for an entire summer. And I would be in my house. Some people say, you can't believe Jamaica, we got a bobsledding.
And just say it.
And then even after with that movie, I would watch it over and over again. And then just the fact that it was like a true story,
Yeah.
I was just like, bro, this really happened. Granted, obviously for cinematic reasons,
yeah.
you add the funny parts and stuff like that. But it was just crazy. It was cool to know that happened in real life. And then like anytime I saw any of those actors, because for the most part, 3 of those guys went on to do a bunch of other stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
One of the ones that stood out to me was Malik Yoba. He was in New York Undercover.
Oh, that's right.
That was one of my favorite shows growing
Yeah.
up. But again, another sports movie that came out in the 90s. That was great. And then one of the king sports movies to this day that involves my GOAT, the GOAT, Space Jam.
Of course.
Space
Jam. When they said they were making a Michael Jordan movie, you're like, and then you go, and I'm sure you'll remember this. I didn't go to watch it when it came out, but I really wanted to watch it because all my friends wanted to watch it. I went to the Dollar Theater. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
On Bird Road, you go pay $1, and this is where I first watched Space Jam. And I saw it. I'm like, how is this going to work? Bugs Bunny, and somehow it worked.
I remember when it came out, I was just like, because you saw the commercials for it, and it was just like, okay, they're doing Roger Rabbit.
Bugs Bunny. Oh,
They're doing the same style.
Oh yeah, the same style of Roger
filming
Roger
as
Rabbit.
Roger Rabbit.
Let's
So
not
I was
forget
like-
another classic.
I'm
80s
just like,
movie,
okay,
yeah.
so this is gonna be awesome, and it has Michael Jordan. The funny thing about me when I went to go watch it for the first time, I saw it on a field trip from school.
Oh, nice.
So it had just came out, and they're like, okay, your parents have to blah blah blah, turn in the money, and I went to in Ponce. So they took us from Ponce to what was then known as it's Sunset Place now, but it was
Yeah.
the Bakery Center.
Oh yeah.
Took us there. We saw Space Jam, and I was like, the whole time I'm just like, yo, this is great.
Yeah.
This movie is incredible. It's Michael Jordan, who was everyone. Doesn't matter where you lived as a
Doesn't
kid.
matter.
You went for your team. I was a Heat guy. I loved
Yeah.
Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway. Just that, like that was. I was a Miami Heat kid growing up, but Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That was the GOAT. That guy just he was basketball,
Yeah.
and the fact that now there's a movie.
Yeah.
So Bugs Bunny, that thing was just so great. And then you have everything promotional for it from McDonald's.
Oh, the
And
McDonald's
I
toys.
wanted everything from
all
that
those
movie.
McDonald's toys
I
were great.
wanted the jersey. I wanted the Happy Meal toys. I wanted the doll. I wanted all the stuffed dolls in my room
Yeah.
of the figure of the characters. And I think I only ended up with one. I think it was Taz. I
Yeah.
had a Taz Space Jam. But Space Jam, another sports movie, and you fast forward to the 2000s. Even now, we're not getting sports movie of that caliber. We're getting biopics.
That's
We-
the thing.
we-
I think it's a biopic. That's what we're doing. We're
We
getting
do
biopics.
get biopics,
Right.
And the biopics are good. I'm not gonna lie, they're good.
Some are good. Some are good.
I
Yeah.
enjoy the biopics, but it's not the same as it was when we were one growing up, and even as adults. Like a sports movie I saw as a late teen that is to this day one of my favorites. The Replacements with Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah.
I fucking love
great
that
movie.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie about an NFL team using replacement players, and it's funny.
Yeah.
It has heart to this day. When I opened my Instagram, everyone's doing quotes and stuff like that, and doing all these like very inspirational quotes or motivational quotes or whatever. And my Instagram, since I opened it in 2012, is a quote from that movie from Keanu Reeves in the last huddle that they have, and it's just like that's how much that movie has stuck with me.
Right.
It's pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever.
It's a great one.
And it came from The Replacements.
Of course. It's a great quote.
And I think that still qualifies. I think that movie came out in 99.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah,
that
it's still
is
qualified.
that is still a 90s sports movie. But Yeah.
They just don't make them. They don't make them like they used to.
No, man.
I know I sound old as a 41-year-old, but let me tell you something. The 90s was a generation that you were just like, you had it all, man.
Yeah. There were a lot more risks being taken. There was
Not a cell phone in sight.
no cell phones. It was all about the moment.
Yeah.
You were experiencing what you were experiencing right then and there with who you were with right then and there. And when it comes to movies and this stuff, it was more of who had the best idea versus how much can we profit off of this movie. Profits have always been in the movie business. That's always been the thing. We're going to put money into this movie to make money. But at that time, it was more about what's the story you want to tell versus how much do you think we could actually market this?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And I think that's what it boils down to, man. And people, people that are born in 2000s and up, they're like, we don't understand why you're so obsessed with the 90s. I'm like,
I hear it all the time.
you just had to be there.
I hear it all the time. It's just like, oh, you guys are so obsessed with your childhood or with nostalgia. Your generation specifically is the one that you guys obsess about your. It's like, yo, you had to be there.
You just had to be there. You had to be there to experience
And
it.
I'm young. I'm young at heart. I'm like, I go places and I give current culture a chance every chance I get, even in gaming. Like, I play one video game right now that's a current video game. I play Call of Duty Warzone with my buddies, and it's a first-person shooter that stems from games I played in the 90s, GoldenEye, Halo.
Yeah.
Like it's just giving me a version of that. But in my retro room, I have my CRT with all my retro consoles, and I'm playing that more.
Yeah.
Because it's just more interesting. And just for the fact, the other day, for the first time ever, I beat Aladdin for the first time on Sega Genesis.
One of the hardest games
And I beat it in like in 45 minutes.
to play as a kid.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many controls did you break trying to beat that one and Lion King? Lion King.
Well, Lion King, I don't think I have it. I've never beat it.
That one's
That's gonna be the next one I try to beat.
where you just
Yeah.
you start over. That's it.
But yeah, but this is basically what the podcast is gonna be. This one was a little more like a lot more unscripted, just for a little more free flow.
Yeah.
But we talk about some movies and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I look forward to doing this with you.
Me too,
having some more of our buddies on here.
For sure.
Talk about certain things. Like I said, we'll touch on movies, gaming, toys, show,
And we'll talk.
culture, fashion.
Yeah, we'll do it from the Miami experience. I think.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a little different
I
than what.
think we digested the 90s culture a little bit different than the rest of the world did, because Miami is its own thing. And it's,
Absolutely.
like, people ask me all the time. I live in South Carolina now, and they'll hear my first of all, I'm told I have an accent. I don't even know I have an accent.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, where are you from? Where's your accent? I'm like, oh, I'm from Miami. And they're like, Miami? Oh, you mean Florida? I go, no. I'm from Miami. Miami is its own thing. That Florida man stuff that you hear, that's not us down there in 305.
No.
That's everybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we will definitely be diving into those things. And yeah, man.
And thanks for having me on. I appreciate it for the first episode.
Hey, this is our show.
For sure, man. Thanks, man.
All right, man.